Here we go. Hi, everyone. If anyone's here, hello. Happy Halloween. So, as you know, and welcome to my terrible makeup, and I'll tell you about that in a second. Okay, so as you know, this was planned to be with Allie and Jamie, who you've never met, but he's a friend, very dear friend in Liverpool, England. And he's very intuitive. Um, and Allie and Jamie and I all love movies. And so I thought we would do something about scary movies that don't necessarily have to be about Halloween, but just scary movies that scared us. And then we were going to tell ghost stories and paranormal. But I think what happened was this full moon eclipse energy. It's been having an effect on a lot of people on their health. So, Allie's husband is possibly, well, he may be out now, but in the hospital for um, he's in the intensive care unit. So like multiple issues and needs our prayers. And Jamie's mom is having issues with her health. And I've heard a lot of people say that family members have had health issues right now. So we just send out our healing vibes and prayers for them to have a recovery and that everything will be okay. If I'm here alone, as you know, I don't like to be alone on lives. I'd rather be behind the camera, not in front of the camera. When I'm with other people, I do better. But anyway, is anyone here? If anyone's here, um, I'll answer questions. I've got my tarot cards and oracle cards, and but if not, then you could watch this on the replay, and I'll get into what happened with my makeup, which I hadn't decided what I was going to do for Halloween, and I'm kind of like that, and I thought about doing my favorite movie is Carnival of Souls, which I'll talk about. And I love that 1960s black and white winged liner and all of that stuff. I love that look. So I was going to do that with the ghoulish, the zombie look. The problem with me is it just doesn't look right on me. I look weird and it starts to look like mud and it looks like I have a fake beard because that dark, I tried to put the ghoulish, like the black on and it just looks weird. Um, But whatever, that happens. So I figure it's the first time I go live on my own, and my makeup's all jacked up, but it's okay because it's Halloween, so you can be whatever you want. So basically, what I am is I look like the girl who got in her mother's makeup and clothing, and or whatever, 1980s secretary. That could be what I am. So um, let's go into if anybody, like I said, if anybody's here, if anybody has any questions, let me know. I'll answer any questions. So I guess I will talk about scary movies. I talked about Carnival of Souls, so I will mention that. It's a black and white movie that was made in Kansas, right around where I live. I live just east of Lawrence, Kansas, and that's where most of the movie was filmed. There's an old Victorian house that they filmed inside of a bed and breakfast. There's an old department store. It's still there. It's called Weaver's, and it has 2 floors. And there's a scene where she goes in and she's half alive, half dead. So she goes in and out of reality. And she's in the department store, and you hear like the elevator and the music up above, and the people's heels clicking on the linoleum, and all those little things. The ding of the cash register. And then as she slips out of reality, out of living reality, and she goes into like zombie world, which is where she belongs because she's technically dead, um, everything becomes silent. And then people stop seeing her and hearing her. She's no longer existent in reality. Now I'm weird. I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm a shapeshifter. I've always been like this. And I feel like the reason why I love that movie so much is because I've always felt like I was like her. Like people would see me and then not see me, hear me, then not hear me. Oh, were you there? And I'm like so tall, like, how could you not see me? But I really think there's something about those of us who like try to hide and we go in and out of realities. And so anyway, that movie affected me. It was on one late Saturday night on one of those public access channels or public television and blew my mind. Now, they probably didn't have very much funding. But what a genius the filmmaker, the writer, the director was, the screenwriter, and just the sound effects, the way the movie opens with the waves of the water, which to this day, when I go to the lake and I see the waves of the water, I think of those opening credits. And if you ever watch the movie, you know the significance of the water and what it does from beginning to end. Anyway, so I just love that movie. Now, that movie inspired Night of the Living Dead. And if you look at the main character, Barbara, or coming to get you, Barbara, she has the same sort of flipped blonde hair and the winged eyeliner, just really subtle. Like, I should go get my overcoat. I might go do that. um, this tie on the overcoat. She's with her brother, right? And it's black and white. It's that crisp fall, Halloween time. They go to the cemetery to pay respects to their uncle or whoever. And it's the first zombie. The zombie and the brother fight. The brother dies, and she runs to the nearest house and finds out there's this whole apocalypse. And that movie affected me too. I really loved Night of the Living Dead. I still watch it every Halloween. I just love that black and white. This is a season of death because it is the death of the leaves, and the season changes, and we go into the rebirth of winter, but winter is kind of like a stagnant death energy. And I think the convergence of brilliant, beautiful, summer, vibrant to, I know I'm talking a lot, to winter, the in-between is that process of, that the world goes to sleep. And where was I going with that? Well, anyway, it's just those two movies have affected me more than you'll ever know. I reference Carnival of Souls in just about everything I do, everything I've written, music, songs, books, a lot of things. And the way I look, I still try to look like the main character in Carnival of Souls. And it's not a movie that scares you. These movies, they don't scare you, but what they do is they put that chill in your bones. And if you notice on my channel, I went to the cemetery with my daughter last night, and it was that feeling of the chill in the air and the purple and the sunset and orange. And okay, so it's not something that scares you, but it puts that chill inside you, and I love that so much. Now, the movies that really, truly scared me would be The Hand with Michael Caine. I was at someone's birthday party, and there was pizza and fun. We listened to music, and then the mom's like, and now let's turn on this scary movie. They had cable. I didn't have cable at home, so I was like, oh, cable. So we're watching, and Michael Caine has his hand out the car window, and the thing cuts it off, and then the hand haunts him the rest of the movie. He wakes up, and it's crawling up his abdomen, his chest, and then, tries to kill him. Like, why does it want to kill him? Well, because like Carnival of Souls, it's trying to bring him back. It's trying to bring him to its reality, which is death. I really think that's the meaning of that movie. It's the hand is bringing him into death. How dare you leave me behind? Okay, so the other movie that scared me was not Christine, but The Car. It was a black car with black tinted windows. Friday night, they showed it, some rerun, and my brother and I remember were watching it, and holy crap, that movie scared the hell out of me for years. The car was insane, and it would just stalk people on the road and then kill them. It would go through the front of somebody's house for no reason, and for years, I was terrified that it would come to my house and drive through the front windows of my mother's house and kill us all. So movies like that, those scare me much more than like Mike Myers, Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street. Those are kind of, to me, those don't scare me. They're just kind of gory and titillating. And I don't really like the gory. I don't like to watch all the blood. Some people do. But real ghostly things, those are what scare me. So anybody here, if anybody has any questions, let me know. It's hard to do this when you don't have questions and you don't have anyone to talk to. So Anything else? Scary movies. The Hand. The Car. Anything else? I mean, Alfred Hitchcock, The Birds. I thought that was genuinely terrifying, and that movie probably influenced Carnival of Souls. Um, I don't know. I can't think of any others. If I think of any, I'll let you know. So what I'll do at this point is I will talk about paranormal experiences that I've had. Here's the thing. I do think that a lot of times when we think we're seeing something that's ghostly, hi Janet, happy Halloween. If you have a question, let me know. Thanks for coming in. Um, yeah, I think that a lot of ghosts and hauntings are just spirit energy that's higher than us, higher than our energy, because we're stuck in a lower density with our body. And so spirit energy has a lot more high frequency, energy and electricity. And a lot of people, when they feel spirit around them, it feels weird. It feels scary. And they know there's a presence around them that they can't see, so it scares them. I mean, I don't like it either. I don't like to feel that feeling. But we're spirit in our body. So I've come to the conclusion that a lot of times when people talk about hauntings, if you really delve into it, it's just spirit energy that you can't see, and it's in this location and it's stuck in this location, and it just feels weird. It just doesn't feel right, like sticking your feet in a cold shoe or something. The energy doesn't feel right to us. We're not used to it because we're in a warmer, heavier energy. But there's negative entities and trickster spirits, and those don't feel good. And okay, so I will talk about, before I go into my experiences, I'll talk about why I think Ouija boards are bad, even though some other psychics say that they're just fine. And the reason why I won't use a Ouija board is because it's literally is like, let's say you have a radio, and spirit is a radio, and it kind of is really. And people like me are like, we have antennas and we pick up stuff. Spirit energy is like a radio. Okay, so you turn on your oldie station, positive, good. Then you turn on country, if you like it, positive, good. You turn on rock, if you don't like it, it's got icky, or gives you a lot of adrenaline. And then you turn on something that's really dark and negative, and it ruins your mood, and you feel depressed, and you can't change the station again. Well, that to me is like a Ouija board is like a radio dial, and you're turning it on, and you're allowing this negative entity to come in, entities. You're like opening a portal and saying, come on in. And so you've opened that radio station, which is for negative energy and entities. And if you're someone like me who's very empathic and, picks up stuff and carries it around everywhere, it can be very negative. I feel very protected, but I also know my limits. And walking in a graveyard last night I broke one of my rules, but I went with my daughter. But normally I would not walk around the graveyard because I pick up entities and they follow me home. And it can wreck your health. So the reason why I don't like Ouija boards is because they are a direct portal for negative entities, and you're literally turning on the dial, opening up the portal, and you're letting them in. Now, tarot cards, which I'll show you, I have these. Tarot, they run by energy. So when you use them, you're using a much higher, I think you're using your higher self and your guides and angels. So you're using a higher energy form that's helping you. It's uncovering the mysteries of your psyche and your day and the story of your life and events and things they want you to work on. And if you're to read tarot every day, the card you would get the most, if you said, what do you want me to do? You would get the Temperance card or the Hanged Man, which are boring cards, but they just say balance, balance, balance. Oh, hi, Janet. Again, and listening while working. Good. That's what I do. I listen when I do chores or drive around or whatever. Yeah, tarot cards, they get a bad rap. I would say that if you are very unprotected, I wouldn't use tarot. I would work with my angel and my spirit team and say prayers and just have boundaries around your energy field. But really, it's a higher form of communication with spirit. It's just energy. Like it just picks up. You could open up the deck right now and it would say the energy of who you are, what your life is. And oracle cards, so like these, James Von Prague, these are cards to talk to loved ones on the other side. These are oracle cards. It's almost like getting the major arcana. And so you're getting a much higher energetic message with each card, not the mundane, like who you are and blah, blah, blah. You're getting very high energy, big messages. And those go up higher energy up to your God and angels, like the divine, like a really like Archangel Michael and things like that. So, and those your loved ones on the other side, which love is the divine rule. It's what runs the universe. Anything opposite of love is anti-universe, which is why our world is so crazy right now, because a lot of people are running on fear and hate and ego. And if everybody was to stop that and we all just ran with love, which is the thread of the universe, the glue of the universe, everything would work out. And you see a lot of us light workers are trying to install love into the world so that we have this balance in the world. The problems work out. But we have all these people who are afraid and hate, and they want to have wars because they're afraid, and the power struggles and the ego and sex and all these. And a lot of those people are on drugs because they're so afraid and power. And it's anti-universe. The universe is love. That's the one thing that the universe is love and light. And if you're not running by love, you're anti-universe, and that's why everything's jacked up right now. So, Janet, I personally don't do, here, I'll put this on here, show. I personally don't do Ouija boards, but do tarot cards and pendulums. Yeah. And you know what? And I have a card with protection prayer, and I will do a short prayer first. Yeah. I mean, I feel like when you start to do these things, you have a good communication and relationship with your like Archangel Michael, your spirit guides and angels, God, the divine. And like, I'm not afraid to use tarot. There was a time when it scared me, but I know I'm protected. And yeah, it's good. It's good to have a prayer. I tell my son that because my son wants to do tarot, and I tell him to do a prayer. But yeah, the thing about Ouija boards is, okay, here's the thing. So last time I went to Barnes & Noble, there was Ouija boards in the toy section. And I remember Toys R Us had them too. And I was like, well, isn't that handy? Of course, the negative entities of the universe would have them as a toy in the toy section. So some little unsuspecting kid can have an energy draining dark entity messing with them, getting them into suicidal thoughts and drugs and all these things throughout their teen, and hating their parents and self-destructive behavior. So yeah, of course it's going to be labeled a toy. And I just don't like Ouija boards. Nobody can convince me that they're okay. Now pendulums, I feel like those work with people's energy when it's a match. For me, I don't match with pendulums. It just doesn't. But I love when other people use them. I think it's great. I just personally can't use it. I would rather use the finger test where you ask yes or no, and But yeah, what else? So there's that. But oracle cards are, to me, it's a higher message, higher guidance, and it's a very loving guidance. And we'll talk about Voreen Dirchu, who, if you know, a few years back, she went full on against tarot and oracle cards, even though that was like her whole thing, and went anti-intuition and yoga and breathing and meditation, but she still did Jesus cards. And the thing about that was like, what about God? What about the angels? What about all that? So I was very disappointed when Doreen turned against the spiritual community. And I remember I almost cried about it. I was walking and I thought, Is it evil to do tarot? And my guides were like, nope, nope. They said that the Bible was written by man, and a lot of those men were flawed. And you can't take everything that the Bible says. So when it says something's evil, um, you have to like consider the fact that there were in between every line of the Bible, I hate to say it, a negative dark entity trying to influence and install fear into every word. And you can tell the words in the Bible that are meant to enlighten us and bring love and to just dispel fear. And those are the ones that sort of free us and open our hearts and connect us with you and empower us spiritually so that we co-create with God and empower women. The feminine entity in all of us, because we have feminine and masculine. And you can tell the parts of the Bible that are a lot like, you're a sinner and you're going to hell and women are bad and blah, blah, all that stuff. Okay. What about, I'll add that. What about scrying mirrors? Haven't tried that, but I was going to read up on the process. I guess that's kind of like a crystal ball, because that's scrying, where you really need to have your third eye open. And when you open your third eye, you can see a lot in a crystal ball and mirror. I don't like to do it because I feel like it's just unsettling to me. Not that it is bad, but I feel unsettled. Asking for things in the mirror, I don't like to do it. And honestly, if I do crystal ball, I just feel like I'm kind of dizzy. So I don't really like to do it. I would rather stare at a tarot card and get messages from the images, the artwork, than all the other things. But to each their own. So scrying, I think a good way to scry, if this is a way, is to draw. Like Kim at Intuitive View, I think that's how she scries. She draws, and then she gets messages and she sees things in her scribbling. So, and writing. Automatic writing to me would be like a form of scrying, because you're pulling out messages from your guides and angels. It's really just a way to distract and relax you so you can get the messages, I feel like that's what it is. But I can't help but think about the Bloody Mary thing in the mirror, the lights out. So that's probably why I don't like to do it. And then the portal thing with the mirror, that it's a portal. But that's okay. So let me talk about. And Janet, if you have any ghost stories, I would love to hear. If you have any questions, let me know. Any other questions. I would say that beyond just lately, with orbs everywhere and things happening in my house, things flying off walls, TVs turning off, my ghost experiences are the one I had at a bed and breakfast, where all night something was staring at me. I could feel it. It was laying on my left, facing the wall. The door was right here. And I just felt something staring at me all night in my face. I was terrified. And I found out the next day that there had been a morgue there decades before. And so that's probably why that was happening. And then other people had talked about, I looked online and other people said that they had experiences there as well. And there was another time in Topeka where the family was invited to a Christmas party, and it was an old, like, turn of the century house. So we go in, it's Christmassy, it's beautiful. And then we go up to the second floor, and I feel, again, there's a presence. There's more than one presence, and it felt like a family, and we were in their space. The party was downstairs. They were okay with that. But this second floor was their space, and they were not happy. And there's even like a little attic staircase, and the door said, "Stop, you can't come up here." And I thought, oh, there's something bad in there. There's something bad. But I could feel the family sitting in the chairs like they would probably in the 1800s. And we were intruding. That's what I felt. It was a total intrusion. And once again, I asked later, is this place haunted? And I found out that other people had similar experiences. So What else have I had? When I was a little girl and my family moved into uh, a house, I was probably like 3. For some reason, my dad, who was not a very nice person, he said that I, the youngest, the baby, had to sleep on the couch in the living room by myself. And so my brother and sister are upstairs, and I guess they have their rooms. I don't have a room, and my mom and dad have their room. And I just remember laying on the couch, and the front door had a diamond glass window. And I laid there with my eyes open and the blanket up. I still, to this day, sleep with the blanket up to my neck. And there was this one moment where I saw a man's face look in the door. And I was like, oh my God, can he see me? Does he know I'm here? I'm terrified. Dad, I was terrified of my father. My dad was not someone that I ever asked for help or called out to for comfort. I was not allowed in his lap, no hugs. He told me I was a devil because one time I was dancing in the living room and he said I was the devil. So when I called out my dad's name, that's because I was terrified. And he was like, he yelled back down something like, shut the hell up and go to sleep. So anyway, to this day, I don't know if that was a real guy or a ghost. And if you think about it, where we lived was a new development in a small town where we were right next to the graveyard. So God knows, was that my first experience of seeing a ghost? And I used to see ghostly figures walking through the hallway. That's why, to this day, I close the door in the where I'm sleeping. I always have the door closed. Other experiences. I've been tapped. Like I said, I've had things fly off walls. One time at, what's that place? The fancy restaurant, not Olive Garden. I can't remember what it's called. It's like Olive Garden. It's really fancy. The metal finial on the booth just flew off. And everybody else's was bolted on. The whole restaurant stopped talking and looked over where I was sitting. And I was just like, okay, I think that was a ghost. They see people like us, they see our light, and they try to get our attention. Okay, this is scary. Probably this was bad. This was scary. So I was at the graveyard with my daughter and the one that we went to last night. This is years ago. And we are in the World War II area. And I felt this deep sadness from a young soldier, a male. It was a male. It wasn't the family, it was a soldier. And he obviously had died young. And he was still upset that his life had been cut short. Hi, Heather. Happy salmon. Salmon. Isn't that what you say, salmon? Do you like my makeup? I tried. You know what happened? I look more Irish than I typically look. But I tried to put like the black on to look like, like a zombie, but that doesn't work for me. So happy Halloween. I'm making pretzels for my kids and I don't know what else. I was going to make chicken fingers. So anyway, I felt this young soldier. He was upset that his life had been cut short and he knew that I knew that he was around. I could feel him. And oh God, you see, I feel it now. He put this sadness in my throat. This is what happens to me. He put this deep, I feel it right now. He put this deep sadness in my throat. And he followed me for years. And that year in particular, whenever I would think of him, I would get this electric shock from my toes. Oh, thank you, Heather. Thank you. I would get this electric shock from my toes. It was like this sparkly. And I feel like what that was doing too, though, it was opening my chakras for my awakening, ascension, to open up my abilities. And I did have a lot of experiences that year that started to show me that I had abilities. So he was part of that. So I can thank him for that. And that's the thing about ghosts and spirit. They're all souls, spirit, that were human at one time, right? My puppy dog. And so we're all connected in that we're all part of the divine. And like I said the other night on the show with Allie, the reason why we have ghosts or earthbound spirits is because, well, one, some people really like it here. They like to be on Earth. They like the atmosphere. They like to be around people. If they were a smoker or they smoked pot or whatever, they like to hang out with people like that because they like it, and they're not ready to give it up yet. So um, they'll hang out on Earth, or they'll hang out with their family. There's a lot of grandmothers and mothers who hang out with their kids who aren't ready just to be up in heaven and be settled. So there's a lot of earthbound spirits who hang around for specific reasons. And then there's others. Now, spirit can come and go. They can go to heaven and come here. We call their name. They come to us. They have like the key to get into here's heaven, here's the divine, and here's us. There's like this much difference. Um, it's not way up there. It's here. It's like right here. What's So when you call someone, they're like right there, and we're connected by love, your heart chakra, your crown chakra opens up, and I just felt a cold thing. Your crown chakra is like the message portal to get their message in. Your third eye will help you see like orbs and sparkles and things like that. Um, your throat and your ears are connected. So if you hear spirit, it's because your throat and your ear chakras are like really connected and open. Mine are bad. My throat has always been an issue for me. I'm a Taurus. Also, in my childhood, I wasn't allowed to talk. That guy from the graveyard he's in my throat. He's messing with my throat, which tells me he wants to talk. I am getting the name Michael or Michael Joseph. I do get infantry. 1943. Were we even in the war in 1943? Too young to die. He had a girlfriend. He's sad that he never got to be married and have kids. Deep sadness and grief over the loss of his life. But he can go on to the other side and heal and then reincarnate and have. So I'm sending him healing for his soul, because that was my other point, was that the reason why a lot of earthbound spirits don't go to the other side is because they are not healed enough to accept divine love. It's like when you go outside and it's too bright and you put on your sunglasses, right? So he needs to know that he has the ability to extend his life, that his higher self can pick another life, and that life will be very good, and he'll have children, he'll be married, he'll have children. And he's still making me feel like I want to cry. He shows me shrapnel, and he's just knocked out. It just knocked him out and knocked the life out of him. And he stands over his body and he's looking at it, and he just can't believe that it happened to him. He went with a lot of like honor and glory, which is beautiful. But he didn't understand. He really didn't understand that he would actually die, that there was a possibility that he would die. He thought he was invincible. He says he does want to come back. I see his mother. She puts her hand on his shoulder. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to do this today. I'm like, now I'm all hot. There's a lot of. He felt like he caused all her grief. that he ruined her life. I'm like sweating now. I'm sweating. Okay. So he can be healed. His family, his guides and angels are there to help him. They're ready to help him. And he's going to reincarnate. He's going to have a good life. He's going to have fun. Okay, leave that behind. Anything else? Does anyone have any questions? I'll tell you what I'll do for right now. I will pull an oracle card or two for you guys in the room. Gals. Let's see for anyone who's here. Any messages? God and angels, the messages for anyone here today. Children. Well, that's interesting, as I just talked about that. Children. Let's see. Children. Got my glasses. You are asked to pay extra attention to your children or your inner child right now. New children may be coming into your life very soon. The angels see your need to play, have fun, and honor your inner child. Perhaps you will play with your own children or grandchildren, or you might enjoy having fun with another adult or doing work that involves helping children. That's good. That's good. And it's Halloween, which helps us remember that we are all children still. We get to have fun and dress up. Retreat into nature. See, I think that's about your inner child. Finding peace in it. It's been so stressful this year, like the last certain number of years. Retreat from your stress. Retreat from your worries, your doubts. And music. Listen to music. Music heals. I know anytime I start to feel depressed, that if I listen to music, it helps me instantly. So it has a magic quality. And think about it, in heaven, when I had a dream one time that I was in heaven, it was full of music and the flowers were singing. And the music is very, very healing in the angelic realm. Okay, any other messages for anyone here? Blessing in disguise. Okay. What appears to be a problem is actually part of your answered prayer. You'll understand the reasons behind your present situation as everything resolves. Trust in heaven's protection and infinite wisdom to answer your prayer in the best way. Blessing in disguise. Assertiveness. This situation can be healed gently and with love as you've requested, and there's also a need for your strength and truthfulness with the other people involved. We will stand right behind you as you speak your truth, giving you strength and guiding your words. Let's see if there's anything else. And then I'll pull some cards from the spirit people on the other side deck. What do you desire? Think about what you want. Manifest. I think this is a really good time to manifest today. Listen. And life purpose. That's me, still trying to figure out what my life purpose is. Let me see. Let me put that on. From Janet. My child runs a wolf refuge. I guess I need to spend time in the mountain. Yeah, that would be beautiful. Do you guys have snow right now? I bet you do. Yeah, that sounds very healing. That if you go up there, you spend some time on the mountain, you're going to have a lot of the things you've, Janet, that you've been asking about. You'll get solutions for. You'll get the answer. And so that is very recommended. And for Heather, blessing in disguise card definitely resonating. Also doing a lot of inner child work. That's good. I was going to say that one time when I was in therapy, my therapist said that for me to picture myself as a little girl and to feel compassion for that little girl. And I think the thing was is that my mother was very critical with me. And so to cut off her criticizing me, I began to criticize me. And I began to pick out my flaws. And it started this lifelong OCD, body dysmorphic disorder. And so before anybody else could tell me if I was good enough or pretty enough or anything enough or enough to be loved, I would criticize myself and push myself away into the hiding spot. That was my defense mechanism, and it still is. I'm working on that. And so it's really good, Heather, to go in and to picture yourself as that little girl and to go up to that little girl that you were and you still are, because we all are inside, the child inside, and to hug her and to say, you're good enough. You are worth love. There's nothing that you need to fix about yourself. We're born perfect. It's the world that tries to convince us, like the ego in the world that convinces us that we're sinners and we're not good enough and we're not pretty enough and we don't have this and we don't have that. Our personality, all these things. And that's why people use money. People use money as a tool to be loved, to be liked, to be good enough, to have value. Well, guess what? In the world of spirit, money means nothing unless it's helping someone, or letting you go on a vacation. Or what really means something is when you are honest and you work with love. So if you go to that little girl and you give her a hug and you can honor that you were perfect in that moment and you never needed to change. Yeah, we grow, we change, we develop, but we didn't need to change. We didn't need to fix ourselves. You were perfect and you still are. We're just adding on to the perfection that we were born as. So let me see. I'll do messages from Talking to Heaven. And let's see. God and angels, any messages? The earth is our school, and I feel so much better now. The earth is our school, and I feel so much better now. So someone on the other side is letting you know to use your time here to learn what you can, because when you go to the other side, it's kind of like, what'd you learn? And it's really your soul that you're doing it for. And I am so much better now. So whoever was here with you that's now on the other side, of course, when you die, your cancer goes away and your whatever heart issues or whatever it is that killed you, it's gone. You're now completely healthy. But mental and emotional issues, those can still linger. And I think they're saying that now they're seeing with a much better perspective if they had any sort of depression, that's healing. And they're seeing things with a much better, much more loving, positive perspective. Okay, anything else? I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. So that could be a parent or someone who, if they feel like they didn't tell you they loved you enough, and that's a lot of times our parents, right? I'm sorry. Please forgive me. That could be your higher self too. Forgive your inner child. To forgive is divine. I always give you a good night kiss. So are there any personal questions that you guys would like answered, or anything that ghostly experiences that you've had that you would like to talk about that I could help answer? Talk amongst yourself. And I'll pull some angel therapy cards here. Cards for the room. Cards for the room. Sacral chakra. Oh my goodness. You are highly sensitive to chemicals, additives, processed foods, and energies right now. Respect your sensitivities by avoiding harsh items, situations, and relationships. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Relationships. People who don't honor the divine in you and your growth as a human being. Janet, I have a basement ghost. I did too. Those are scary. I'll just say it. Those are scary. Tell me more about that because I'll tell you about mine. Tell me if you have more info. Let me know. The house that I grew up in when I was up until I was about 12, the one that I saw the guy look through the oh, you're going to remodel and you have to confront the ghost. Yeah, here's what I would do. I would literally talk to the entity, the ghost, and say, with respect, I'm going to do some remodeling. I don't want to upset you. Leave signs if you're feeling uncomfortable, and I'll slow down. I want to respect your space. Okay, Janet. I'll talk about my, but yeah, just ask for signs if they're uncomfortable, and then you should be okay. I'll talk about my basement ghost, and this is really frightening. Okay, so the house that I grew up in, my mother moved us out of when I was about 12 or 13. And the people who bought the house, now I had bad memories in that house from my father. Some really bad things happened in that house with my dad. But the people who bought the house after us and we moved out, the guy ended up raping the babysitter, who probably someone that I knew in the neighborhood, a girl, unfortunately. And I remember getting creepy vibes around him when they did the house tour before they bought the house. And okay, so he did this horrible thing, and then he killed himself in the garage via leaving the car on the exhaust, and he died. So for years, as an empath, I would have nightmares where he was haunting me, and he would try to pull me down into the basement. I was terrified. And I had to sort of dislodge my connection to that house, my childhood home. There really was a lot of bad memories, a lot of good, memories, stories, small town, all that, but a lot of bad negative energy. And yeah, I had to put like a block. And there was a time when he kept haunting me, and I'd have these nightmares, and I'd wake up and I had this music box in my room, and he would set off the music box in my room. I was like, enough of that. That's when I really started to learn how to use prayer and protection to keep these things away from me, because as an empath, we attract it. So anything else? Oh, well. Let me put this on here. So recently accidentally ended up next to a murder scene where the body had been buried for 6 years under the floor. I had no idea of this, but while I was in town, I had such a strong woozy feeling. I bet you did. That's terrifying. First of all, that's like Edgar Allan Poe right there. That is creepy. 6 years. Did no one smell? How did they not smell that? Yeah, you picked up on that for sure. That's crazy. I'm just thinking about how, yeah, Edgar Allan Poe and the Telltale Heart. And then I was thinking of this thing when I was 18. After graduation, my friends and I would go to this lake, and we would drink. And we would swim the lake all summer and up until late hours, And then I found out recently that at that time period when we swam in the lake all the time, some guy had died. His car had gone into the water and his body was in the water decaying that entire time, those 2 summers. So I literally swam in a lake with a dead body. Isn't that awful? Okay. I think it was just the energy of the lady being released. It was quite strong but peaceful. Can you imagine you're killed like that and hidden so you don't have a funeral, your parents don't know? Yeah, it was right. I always feel like these spirits know that we know, and they reach out to us, and we're like kindred to them. Strong but peaceful. That's very interesting. That reminds me of Laura Ingalls Wilder. The Little House, the books of the perfect little, prairie childhood. Well, they didn't put everything in her book. She wasn't allowed to. But there was a thing that happened when they I live in Kansas, so I know this from Kansas. Her dad would walk from their little log cabin through the prairie to Independence, Kansas. And on the way was a kind of like a bed and breakfast for travelers, Pony Express, etc. And her dad would walk by, and one night the lady came out and said, "Hey, would you like a room for the night? A meal in a room?" And he's like, "No, I just want to get to town and get back." So he didn't go in. Come to find out that this mom and her son would attract these travelers in, lure them in for a room and meal, and kill them, and hide their body and steal their money and hide their body in an apple orchard that they were planting. So then her dad joined a posse to hunt down and kill the mom and her son. So that's a really dark story that the Little House in the Prairie books never mentioned because she probably wasn't allowed to. The other thing that she didn't get to talk about in her books is that her mother had several miscarriages and had depression. Laura Ingalls' mother had depression. And in fact, there's a story where Laura goes to stay with, as a teacher, a family room and board so that she could teach at a school in another town. And the mother has this wild depression, and Laura wakes up in this house with the mother above her with like a knife or something because she's jealous of this young girl staying in the house tempting her husband. We'll come to find out that Laura's mother had like bipolar. And some of those things that she told about that lady, her mother actually had gone through. And so her family, the Little House in the Prairie family, was not perfect. What's the other thing? How about the story of Lizzie Borden? I was going to talk about Lizzie, and we'll close this up here in a few minutes. Lizzie Borden, you've heard that story, right? Lizzie Borden had an axe, killed her family with 50 whacks, something like that. So the story is that Lizzie was accused of hacking up her mom and dad and like a guy that was staying there, the maid, and then that she was found not guilty, that a stranger had come in and done it. But I personally, intuitively, have always felt that it was Lizzie Borden who actually did it, but she had a moment of insanity because she had been abused and molested for many years of her life. She was gay at a time when people were not allowed to say that they were gay, and she just lost her mind. She had had enough of being molested and literally lost her mind. It's creepy. I've got chills, but that's how I felt. I feel like she did do it. She did. In fact, if you look at pictures of her, she doesn't look right. There's something off there. Anything else? These are things I don't talk about like on a normal basis, only on Halloween, and then sage it away. Any other questions? If there aren't any, I will do one more card and we will close this up. And again, let's say prayers for Allie's husband and for Jamie and his mom, that they will be okay. Thank you. It's a good day to talk about it. Okay. Cards for everyone. God and angels. These are the Hidden Truth Oracle. They can be used for twin flame, for the others on, loved ones on the other side. I want to tell you how I feel. So that's part of it too. If you go and you listen, sit and listen in nature, retreat, you'll get the answers. And I've heard that sitting next to water is a really good idea for getting answers from spirit. I want to feel that way again. So they want your love. If you've been feeling lately like you're not communicating with someone on the other side very well, they want to feel that closeness again. They want you to sit and communicate with it and listen. I wonder if you were happy without me. And the thing about that is spirit knows that we have to live our life. And while we're in separation, I think they want you to be happy. It's not that they're wondering if you are happy. It's that they want you to be happy. I think those don't feel right. Two more cards. The timing just wasn't right for us. So that tells me that there will be a time. And then I always get that message, like with John, we'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when. It's funny how he sent me that message before I even knew what that song was, and Vera Lynn, and that one of his favorite singers growing up was Vera Lynn, and that his mother sounded like Vera Lynn, and he would keep sending me that message of we'll meet again. And so yeah, I love that. You see these? Getting some weird messages here. I'm so attracted to you. And yes, spirit can be, have sexual thoughts and desires. I think it's just different. It's a little bit different on the other side, but it's still, they still have those feelings. So, well, I'll start closing it up here. Hi, Fatima. Fatima, do you have a question? I'll stay on. If you have a question, I'll stay on. This was my first live solo, and I would like to do this political readings, but right now I wanted to do a special Halloween show, and missing my friends right now that were supposed to be here with me, but I understand that things happen. My puppy dog is around here. So yeah, I'll wait, Fatima. If you have a question, I'll wait and I'll answer your question. Let's see what else. So tonight, I was going to take my son to the graveyard because he wanted to go. We were out a couple weeks ago. He went to his first high school party. And afterwards, I picked him up. And afterwards, I'm attracted to you card made you laugh out loud. Good. It's my first solo one. Heather, that's probably why that card came out. To make you laugh and just to say, yeah, they still think about sex on the other side. They want to be close. It's a little bit different, isn't it? The closeness is slightly different. Hi, baby. I'm almost done. So I'll finish my story about, thank you. So I pick up my son from his first real high school party. He goes to the cool school now, and he goes to alternative high school. And his friends are like LGBTQ plus. Like his best friend is a girl, and she brought her girlfriend. And they had pizza, and they watched movies, and they played with like fidget toys and all that. I mean, when they come out of school, it looks like a rock band because the guys all have long hair and they're so like grungy, like Nirvana. Like, you've got the cool school. That's the school I wanted to go to. So, and he showed me a picture of his, I wonder if I can find it here. His school decorated for Halloween. Let's see if you can see this. Can you see? They decorated like CSI. Like, that's not fair. I wanted that school when I was growing up. Anyway, so I picked him up from his first high school party. And then I said, let's drive around the graveyard because it was like dark and misty and all that. And we took a left, and he said, let's go to the spooky street. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he said, this street's so spooky. So, okay. So we turned the corner, and we have our windows open a crack, and we both hear whispers. And we drive down the street and we hear another set of whispers, and we both like turn to each other at the same time. We're like, did you hear that? And then we turn the corner again, and once again we both hear it felt and sounded like a female whispering. And that's the first time I've really heard whispers in the wind. It was scary. It was scary. But the thing is with me, like I don't get scared so much as I'm sort of excited, like, oh, I experienced that. That was so cool. I've always wanted to see what that was like, or I've always wanted to hear that. So there's such a thing as whispers in the wind, and we experienced it. So my daughter and I went to the graveyard last night, and I told you about that. And you can watch the video. There's orbs aplenty in that video, and in fact, in the second clip, right at the end, I turn to the because it gets really dark at the end. There's a path, and you could see like an orb fly up the path toward the camera, and then there's some flying around, and then I turn right before I turn to like a gravestone. There's a streak of something that flies across the camera and like a red flash, and yeah, it was interesting. Definitely, there's energy. I've always wondered why would a spirit hang out in a graveyard, but the thing is, some of them do, and it's just because they still have. I don't know. I feel like when I die, I don't want to hang around the graveyard. I'll just move on. Move on. But that's not so for everyone. Not everybody's healed yet, and not everybody understands that they can go to a different dimension. So I was just reading about, let me put this on here. I was just reading about Whispers in the Wind today in a book about Celtic mysticism. Have you noticed that people who are more closer to their heritage, whatever, like Celtic, Irish, British, French, African, Jamaican, Russian, Latino, the people who are closer to their ancestry, that their intuition is stronger, like it's a gift that's passed down. And I think what it is that because they're closer to their family line. Well, see, my grandmother was adopted, so I don't know. I just feel like it's in us. There's certain people who are stronger in us, or maybe we just, I don't know. Maybe we embrace it more. That sounds bad when I say it, so I'll just stop talking about it. But I feel like there's something to that. Like Celtics, like show me an Irish person that doesn't believe in fairies and ghosts. Like we all believe in it, and we've all had experiences. So I'll hang on just a little bit more. If anyone has any other questions, I will answer them. Tell me what you're going to do for Halloween tonight. And then I'll close it up here. And Jamie and I, Jamie's from Liverpool, and we did meet through one of the shows I did about John Lennon. And we've been talking to each other a lot. And he's a really sweet guy. He's very talented. He's an actor and a writer. And we both have a love of film. So we're going to talk, and music, obviously. So we're going to, on Thursday, if everything works out, we're going to talk about the new Beatles song that's coming out and kind of do like a live reaction type of thing. Hopefully we won't get a copyright strike. You want to test an Irish person, ask them to cut down a hawthorn tree. Oh, they will not, even though they'd laugh at the concept of fairies. Interesting. I'll have to look that up. I think I have heard of that, but I don't know enough about it. Is that where the fairies hang out? Is that what that is? Yeah, I'll have to look that up. They scare me. Fairies or ghosts or orbs. I mean, it is scary. I'll tell you what, there was a time when I would not do tarot. There's a time when I would not talk about ghosts. And then it's almost like I just caved in because you know what? It's just part of who I am. But I could see how most people wouldn't want to talk about it. Or think about it. Because you can attract it, I guess I've just always found it fascinating. And our Ouija boards, yes, Ouija boards. I don't even here's something. High school experience. We went to my friend's house, And she was like, "We're going to do the Ouija board." And the whole time I'm like, "No, no, no." I always told my mother I wouldn't do it. And I was raised Catholic, right? And my mother had told me some bad things about Ouija boards, and I was like, "No, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it." And I whispered to my friend, "I don't want to do it." So she's like, "I'm just gonna go get it out of my closet." And then her mom came out and said, "Oh, it's hidden. Because he had just moved." She's like, "It's still in storage." And I'm like, whew. Experience avoided. I did not want to do the Ouija board thing. I think I would have just gone out and hung out in the front yard if they had pulled it out. I don't need that trouble in my life. Yes, hawthorn trees or fairy trees. Okay, that makes sense. You're Catholic too, yeah. You know, Catholics, it's funny, Catholics believe because we have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. So clearly we believe in spirit and ghosts. And yeah, my mother told me about the Ouija boards. She did do one when she was a teenager, and she said that they asked who was moving the thing, and it spelled out the devil. And she said, and my mother didn't lie. She didn't lie about stuff like that. I've heard stories where people throw out the Ouija board and the next day it's like in their house again. And so I don't need that. I don't, you know what's scary? You know what's scary is that scene in Poltergeist. This ruined clowns for me forever. The scene in Poltergeist when he has the clown on the chair across the room, and then he like falls asleep and he wakes up and the clown is gone. And then he looks around the room and then he looks under the bed and is under the freaking bed. That scared me forever. I hate clowns now. A whole part of a major road was diverted here because of the fairy tree. That's great. It was to be cut down, but the chainsaw broke when the guy started to cut into it. Then he got in a car crash. Oh my God, the tree was not cut. Wow. Wow. That's something else. Well, don't mess with the tree. Don't mess with the fairies, right? Don't mess with the fairies. Hey, I believe in it. I've told you the story of how my daughter was sick and I did lots of healing with God and the angels and Archangel Michael and especially Archangel Raphael, who was the healing angel. And she got better. And then one of our trees in the backyard died. I say our because I used to be married. Will I ever get over that? My tree in the backyard died. And then when my dog was sick, I prayed and he lived for a couple more years. And I noticed that each time I would pray and he would heal, another tree would die in the backyard. So I really believe that trees have an energy, a spirit energy, and it's very healing. And fairies or what have you, indigenous, what have you, there's an energy in trees. And if you cut a branch, you'll see that there's an eye that grows. And I think there's something sort of like indigenous Native American about that. That's very beautiful to me. Hi, Janet. Fatima. I don't see Ouija boards anymore. I saw one in Barnes and Noble. And if you go around Christmas time, Walmart, Barnes and Noble, they're in the toy section, like the board games. So they're still around. They're still around. Yes, Janet. I talked about in the basement. I just said that the basement ghost. Just ask for signs when it's getting too intense when you're doing your remodeling and say, give me a sign if it's too much. I'll respect your boundaries. I'll slow down or I'll move this for one day. I'll go over here for one day. Just ask for like a knock on the wall or leave this thing here or just you could feel like I think you could feel the energy if it feels off and just back off on that area for the time being because you can talk to spirit and you can work with them, you know. Fatima, I believe that trees are special. I do too. That's why we shouldn't cut them down everywhere. I think that a lot of the trouble we have in the world is because we've been cutting down a lot of sacred trees. I mean, that's not our only trouble. Like I said, love is the trouble. We need love in the world. But that balance of spirit energy that's all around us, and think about when they cut down entire like prairies and entire forests for some exorbitant houses are like millions of dollars, you know. um, think about what that does to the balance of not only the natural world that we live in, but the spirit world that we live in. Well, it would be good to plant another tree. Yeah, I agree. But that's the thing. They don't always do that, Janet. He likes to knock things over. That's how we discovered him. Yeah, I literally would stand there and have a talk. And yes, you could sage, put some salt around and all that. Um, but I would just have a conversation with him and say, I know I'm in your space, even though you're paying the bills. I know I'm in your space. You know what? It's like a cat. You know how when you move a cat and they're mad and they come right back and they sit in that spot again and you have this battle over the spot where the cat wants to sit. And the more you piss them off, the more determined they are to go back. I feel like some entities are like that. So what do you do with the cat? You say, "How about you go over here? Look, I bought you a new pillow." Or, "Good kitty." Um, just appease him. I know this sounds silly, but it's kind of how it is. Just appease him a little bit and just say, "I'll work with you. Just let me know and I'll work with you." So, anything else? And I'll close this up pretty soon. It was fun hanging out with you guys and answering questions. So, yeah, try to come back on Thursday if you want to hear if you want to meet Jamie and watch us listen to the new Beatles single. And I'm hoping to get him on for more talk about stuff like this with paranormal and also just talk about movies and things like that. He's a really great guy that everybody should know. So I'll give it one more minute and I'm going to turn this off. And happy Halloween, everyone. Have a beautiful, safe Halloween. Have fun and um, don't eat too much candy. You too, Fatima. You too. But I'll say this. Have you noticed how expensive candy is right now? Like in the old days, you could buy a couple bags or 3 bags of candy for like $12 or something, or maybe $20. It's $20 to buy 1 bag of candy. That's insane. That's insane. So I just bought the Tootsie Roll mix. I know, bad. At least it's not the Mary Jane, the peanut butter, which I actually like those. But yeah, yes, happy Halloween, everyone. Have fun. And just know that what this does, you'll notice this. You honor the dead. The spirit has its time. It has its time. And this is the portal's open, the energy's open, and everything's expensive. But let them get their energy out. You can acknowledge it. And then we go into this beautiful, what I call the pastoral time of November, which is one of my favorite times. The colors of the leaves and the hills and everything's like this subtle sort of gold and amber. And there's like a pastoral feeling. It's a renewal of peace, and it heads into the beauty of Christmas or the holidays, whatever you celebrate for the holidays, and which is like a rebirth for us all. And so this today is like the purging and the cleansing. It's the acknowledgement that we are spirit and that we do sort of coexist in these different elements of the unseen. And I don't know. I think there's something beautiful there's something about that we should be enjoying. And as I said before, I don't have anything against religions or, Christianity, but when people say that they don't believe in Halloween or they don't do anything for Halloween, I'm like, there's a reason why we put out scary pumpkins and things like that, because it literally happens. The Day of the Dead is a real thing. So you might as well just be like, acknowledge it and move on to the beautiful, peaceful, introspective time of Thanksgiving, which is about gratitude and abundance. So thanks for watching my first solo live. And I was really happy to see you guys, girls, gals, ladies, and I love you and many blessings to you. I'll talk to you later.